What's the most ducked up thing you've heard eavesdropping? Back in the 90s you could pick up cordless phone calls with an ordinary scanner from Radio Shack. That's how I found out the guy living one floor below me was dealing meth. Also routinely heard people's credit card numbers, sex chats, all that stuff. It was crazy. Ex thought I was sleeping. She went out on the back patio which was under my master bedroom window that was open. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but overheard her talking to her friend about how they were both ducking an old man for money and pills. Years ago I walked by a dude on the street, visibly frustrated. He was on his phone talking to either his boss or a friend, who knows, and then it got all caught in the gears. Just torn apart. Jesus Christ, blood and guts everywhere, right in front of the kids. What a bad day to know. I didn't clean it up. I was late for my dad's funeral. Yeah. So a friend of mine got his aunt pregnant. It went like, buddy, are you sure? I mean, mom is going to be pissed if she finds out. No, I'll go with you. For real. We can't see each other again. Wait. No. We can just go away. Together. You know. No, it's not wrong. I love you. Please don't. From what I can surmise is that his aunt was on her way to get an abortion or something and that she's going to leave. I was in line behind two older women at a restaurant maybe 5-6 years ago. One says, hey, did you hear about so and SOS son? The other says no. What happened? She replies he ran off and joined ISIS. What was crazy was they seemed so casual about it. Like that wasn't a crazy ducking thing to hear about your friend's son. When I was 9 years old, I was sneaking downstairs to the kitchen for a midnight snack and I heard my parents arguing. Heard my father tell my mother that he hated me and wished I had never been born. Didn't get midnight snacks again after that. I work nights right next to a bar. The conversation that stuck with me the most was when someone's baby mama found them and started a one-sided shouting match outside the window. She said something along the lines of, "You've got $1 million in your bank account and still can't take care of your kids." Saw her running and screaming at him as he got in his car and drove off. That was more or less how things went when my mother finally tracked down my father when I was 12. His attorney flat out told him that what she was asking for in child support was both reasonable and as good as it was going to get, and he'd be an idiot to fight it. The back payment got us a new roof on the house, and to his credit, he also pitched in towards my college tuition after I was 18, which he was not obligated to do. In high school I really want to take acid, but I can't find a babysitter. Ogteen mom. Edit, I'm certain she meant for a baby and not for herself, as she had a baby earlier in the school year and not for herself. Also I knew her and she was wild. Also yes, good on her for at least looking out for her kid. He grew up fine and she's doing great too. It was just funny and shocking to my virgin ears. I was on the bus and I heard a guy talking on the phone with a friend, telling him how his girl beats him. His tone was pretty casual, but it sounded like there was a domestic violence issue happening. The most hilarious thing I heard was two guys talking, and one guy was talking about not being able to wear second-hand pants because someone else's balls been in them. Sweetin' and stankin'. Took customers meet after a long time in my store. Hey, I didn't know you got out of jail. Yeah, 15 long years. What happened? Oh, ick now. Shot a couple people. Good on the man for serving his time, but I'm still desperately curious who he shot and why. We shared a wall with our neighbor's bathroom. Once morning we heard our kind neighbor crying to his girlfriend because she insisted she never slept with anyone else. He pleaded with her to tell the truth because he had gotten a call back from his doctor telling him he tested positive for genital herpes. He sounded so heartbroken and despaired, but she denied cheating repeatedly. He moved out and we never saw him again shortly after that. My dad got genital herpes and then blamed my mom for giving it to him. She didn't have it. She never had it. They had been married for roughly 40 years when that argument happened. It all started because my mother was asking me why my dad was taking a certain medication. I'm a doctor, so it was easy for me to deduce. Edit. although most people could figure it out just by watching herpes treatment commercials. This happened to me and my wife. We both tested clean when we began our relationship and we are monogamous. A while later she started having symptoms and went to the doctor and tested positive for genital herpes. She was tremendously upset and very scared that I would think she cheated. I had no doubt that she was as faithful, but it was still a big mystery as to how this happened. My best guess is that I had an active, minor, and unnoticed cold sore in my mouth on a day that I gave her oral sex and transmitted the virus to her in that way. I'm not a doctor, but I did stay in a Holiday Inn Express last night, so I can't say for sure that this is what happened or even medically feasible, but makes sense to me. My mother-in-law was talking to my wife while I was making food. My sister-in-law, 13 at the time, heard her mother say, yeah, I should have just aborted Sil and saved myself the trouble. I know my mother-in-law goes through Reddit, so Pam, if you read this, I hate you. We all hate you, and every moment I spend with you is a moment of my life wasted. One day when your other children have all run away, only one left out of 6, I'll send you to the worst nursing home I possibly can find. Change your ducking ways before this happens. I was a cashier in a gift shop at the time, and these two old women came in. They were reading inspirational quotes off a wall near my cash register. Oh, I love that. That reminds me of Harold. Oh, it does, doesn't it? Things just haven't been the same since he died in that awful lawnmower accident. To this day I wonder WTF that meant. Was at a bar, went to the bathroom, and passed a woman talking into a payphone. She said the greatest sentence I have ever heard. This was over 2 decades ago, and I still remember it. Clear as day. Yeah. Well, every dick I suck puts your daughter through college. I have seriously used that as an example of perfect characterization. You learn her whole life story in one sentence. It's brilliant. Standing in line at a gas station. Obvious regular customer female talking to the cashier in front of me. Me and Billy got a couple beers in us, and you know how we start to get crazy. So, then we start smoking crack. And, well, you know how I get. No, I don't. And I don't want to. Just let me pay for my gas and Gatorade and get back on the highway. I don't need this. Not sure this qualifies, but I speak French, and when I was about 18 I was walking on the sidewalk near an outdoor pool. A bunch of teens about my age were walking on the sidewalk towards me, all in bikinis. Not wanting to be rude, I passed them without checking them out or anything. Then as I passed and kept walking, I heard one say in French he didn't even look at me. Then the others consoled her and said she's cute, hot, how dare he. I feel like that experience makes even less sense now than it did then, based on what society deems appropriate, but it's always in the back of my mind. When I was in high school I went to the junior high for some reason. I don't recall. Taking yearbook pictures, maybe small town. All the schools were on one campus basically. Walked past a couple of girls and heard one say to the other, I thought he'd be cute but he wasn't. They were 13 or something, so whatever. But it still kinda hurt. I had a similar situation once. First year of high school. Never kissed anyone before that. My friend talked a girl into kissing me, promising to kiss her afterwards. Downside, he was obsessed with telling everyone that he wouldn't hold his end of the bargain. So, great day arrives. I go to the spot. She is leaning against the wall with a frown. I get closer. She looks at me and says not worth it and walks out. Try telling that to the welcome party all of my friends had in the classroom. My friend got her wisdom teeth taken out, but had a bad reaction to the anesthesia, so I was helping take care of her. Her BF new relationship dropped by to check on her with one of his friends. I heard them both murmuring in the kitchen, wishing I wasn't there so they could have fun with her. I confronted them and screamed for them to leave. She lived in an apartment building, so I know people heard me. They tried to say it was a joke, but either it was fed up and scared me. It's not ducked up, just more so funny. I was in a thrift store a few days ago, and there were these two older men in there, talking very loud. One picked something up and kinda yelped, and the other guy goes, "You must have looked in a mirror." Old people roasting each other is some of the funniest shit ever. When I was about 10 or 11 years old, I heard my teenage next door neighbor masturbating and moaning, and I kept my ear pressed against the wall to listen harder in shocked curiosity. As it turns out, he was not masturbating, but was being sexually abused by his stepfather. Overheard a doctor I worked for tell a patient to get a pack of Camels and chain smoke the entire thing. He was a pulmonologist lung doctor, so I had to ask. The patient he was talking to had a cough for 6 months. No treatment was helping. She called the next day, said she coughed up a giant ball of phlegm after all that smoking, and her cough was gone. Serial chest x-rays showed no active disease. The doctor said he learned this treatment method in Canada back in the 60s. I'm from a very dangerous country. One night while looking at the stars in my yard, I heard a couple people plotting how to carry out a murder. They were meeting in an empty lot across from my place. I even heard them agree on the plan and then get on their motorcycles to go execute it. I also come from a dangerous country. Once I was in the subway, I overheard a conversation of 3 men about the best way to open different sorts of cars in order to steal them. The one who was learning asked, "What do you do if the owner of the car resist or fight back?" And the expert told him, "I just kill him." This happened like at 2 in the evening and around a okay place in the city. I just got out the wagon in the next station in despite not being my destination. I was on a bus journey where the passengers had to sit through a scary looking dude at the back making a series of loud phone calls which included threats to kill, arranging for people to meet him for this attack, and raging at people who he was seemingly calling at random to scream about his desire to stab him in the ducking neck, which was a recurring theme. I don't take the bus much. When I was a little kid around 11, I was upstairs in bed, and my dad was downstairs talking to my mom. My dad thought I was asleep, but I wasn't. I was listening to him talk, and he was talking about some guy who fingered someone's ass. Serving food to a German family in the UK, whose mum and dad were sitting berating the locals for everything under the sun from appearance, attitude, intelligence, etc. Unbeknownst to them, I've got a good grasp of their language. As I was clearing their table, I told them in their mother tongue that I hoped they'd enjoyed their meal and wished them a nice evening. Never have I seen such a shade of beetroot red on someone's face. I had a very similar experience. I was eating in a restaurant in Amsterdam and was speaking English with the waiter. There were 2 women sitting next to my table in close quarters speaking in German about basically everyone that came into the restaurant. I knew that the waiter spoke German, so after about 30 minutes of the German women's nonsense, I spoke in my best German to the waiter that I found it wonderful that there are so many languages spoken in Holland. These 2 women turned to look at me with the same beet red faces. Priceless. I was about 15 waiting to be seen by my eye doctor. I think I got there early and was in the waiting room. There was no one else in there. However, I heard 2 doctors behind the wall talking about some patient and whether to offer a surgery. Essentially, they said the patient didn't need the surgery, but they could make a decent sum of money, so they should encourage the patient to go through with it. It's not really ducked up but a bit sad and very comical, but I could overhear a young Indian couple arguing, and the woman was just blasting the guy and listing out all his flaws and all the shit the guy did wrong in the relationship, and the guy kept trying to calmly get a word in and said okay, but so many times it started getting funnier the longer it went on. Eventually the guys finally did manage to say something, and he said, "Okay, but I don't think you are understanding the situation here. You cheated on me, so I'm actually breaking up this relationship. In fact, so thanks for that, and I'm sorry you thought I was inadequate. But luckily guy, she cheated with his 10 times to the power and power of infinity worse than me, so at least I can feel good about it. Enjoy." The whole situation, the accent, the tone of this guy's voice, and that final burn had really stuck with me for a long time. I remember his response word for word, and I still use modified parts of it to make a shit situation seem less shit to this day. Ooh man. When I was deployed to Saudi Arabia, I was working nights, and I had a night off. I was at the smoke pit around 3 AM, and in the storage tent next to me I heard, "Dude yeah, suck that dick, oh shit. Nice. Dude to duck, yeah. You like sucking his dick while I duck you. God, you're a ducking slut." Because I was young, horny, and bored, I stayed and listened to these two dudes banging some chick. They were not being quiet. I stuck around to see who the slut was, but then 3 dudes and no woman walked out of the tent. Took me a second to realize my misconception. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing for more videos.